As students of sociology, we know that sociologists have at least three major perspectives. Theoretical perspectives, according to which they understand, explain, and research the social phenomena. The same applies to the study of gender. For the study of gender and gender issues and development of gender roles and related matters, sociologists can do their studies from at least three perspectives. We know the three perspectives that we have are the functionalist perspective, the interactionist perspective, and the conflict perspective. Sociologists understand and explain and talk about and describe the social reality and social phenomena from the particular perspective that they belong to. So, a sociologist who belongs to the functionalist perspective will see and look at the things which refer to and which are related with the function of the society and the function of the various institutions within the society. A theorist or a research scientist or a sociologist who has the conflict perspective at the back of his thinking will look at and will be interested in the conflict that takes place in the society. For an interactionist perspective, the interaction between people and groups is very important, and that is the focus of study. The understanding of sociology of family gave rise to the understanding of gender and gender relations in the society. And the sociologists who belong to the functionalist perspective, they look at it from the perspective of how they studied the relationships between the family as a small social institution, which is very important and which is foremost and the first institution that person comes in contact with. It led to the understanding of how the roles of men and women in the society are affected by the roles that they had performed and they have been performing in the family. So the status that a woman has in a family, generally in a society, will be reflected in the status of women in the society. And the status of men that most men in that society enjoy at home will be reflected in their status in the society at large. Whatever happens in the family is reflected in whatever happens in the society. What our children learn in the family, they behave in the same manner with other friends, with other peers, and in the society when they are on the roads or in the parks or in the playgrounds. The very first perspectives, functionalism or structural functionalism. According to this perspective, society is a system that consists of interconnected and interdependent parts that operate to contribute to the functioning of the whole society. Functionalists, they have the end goal of social equilibrium and balance in the whole society, and their focus is on the understanding of how elements of social structure contribute to its overall social stability, balance, and equilibrium. So, as students of sociology, we know that from the functionalist perspective, we look at the society just like a living organism, in which each and every part of the organism contributes to the stability, balance, and well-being of the whole organism. If anything goes wrong with one part, it affects the whole part. So, if one part is injured, the whole body gets the fever. Similarly, when we look at the society and its various institutions, the functionalists are looking at how these institutes or the smaller parts that the society is made up of, how they contribute to the overall equilibrium and balance and harmony in the society. How each and individual independent part of the society functions, how they function together, and how they contribute to the well-being of the society. So the focus for sociologists belonging to this perspective would be the functions and interconnectedness of these smaller elements found in a society. Role specialization. There is a concept that in a society, men and women may have their own role specialization. As we said that the study and the knowledge of the way family operates and the way human relationships take place within a family, that gave information about gender and gender roles and different aspects of gender relations. In the pre-industrial societies, it's believed that there was a niche for role specialization. That is, men and women had their specialized roles. There was no gender bias as such, but their lives were such that men had specialized roles and women had their specialized roles. And those specialized roles were reflected in the family systems later on, also, even when the societies became industrialist. So, what was happening was that men in the hunting and gathering societies, we know that men were out for hunting and gathering, and women also went for their help. But since women had the major role of reproduction, and they were involved in childbirth, and then they were looking after the small infants, and they were looking after the children at home, gradually their roles were specialized. So women's role was mostly found in the family, within the household, and men were mostly working outside the household. And this is gradually how their roles specialized. It was not because of any gender bias or physical weakness, but their roles that they were performing, they gradually became specialized. Children, when they were at home, they learned the domestic chores, and at the same time they started working and learning how horticulture and agriculture was working. Women depended upon men for food because since they were looking after small infants, which required more attention at home, more presence at home, therefore men were the providers, and gradually they became the main providers, and women were the ones who tended the household. As a consequence, more value was added to men's status and men's work because they were involved in works or tasks which are more challenging and which involved more adventure, more danger, and more life-threatening situations that they had to face. But whatever happened, it resulted into specific roles for men, specific roles for women, but it had its own repercussions further also. So if somebody was spending most of the time in the forests or in jungles, was hunting, was gathering, then the person was exposed to more danger, was involved in more challenging situations, more adventurous situations. So gradually it added to the bravery or self-confidence to that person. And the other person, which was primarily the woman, who was living most of the times inside the four walls of the house, she was not exposed to such dangerous situations. Therefore, she was not equipped with the way of dealing with danger, the way of dealing with animals or similar situations. We see that, according to the functionalist perspective, the same thing can be seen in the contemporary family system also. It is believed that in most families, roles are divided, the tasks are divided, roles are specialized. Most women spend time at home. They are working inside the home, domestic chores, and most men are working outside the home. Families benefit when spouses assume complementary specialized roles, when their roles are not overlapping, when their roles are not clashing with each other. This is how the functionalist perspective explains these relations. Attached with the instrumental role of the husband or the man is the expectation that he is going to be the provider. Woman, on the other hand, has the expressive role, which means she is going to be the binding force, the cement for the family and the members of the family and the relations within the family. She cares and she nurtures, and the man provides. Simple. Now, the question is, how good is this perspective? Of course, this is a good perspective. It explains how things take place within the society. But at the same time, we see that this is talking about, these people are talking more about role specialization and very distinct separate roles for men and women. But we see that the societies are changing. Societies are becoming more and more egalitarian, in which men and women are performing equal roles, or they are trying and they are striving for equal status in the society as well as within the family. So if we look at the modern families, modern day families, educated families, emancipated families, we see that we do not see this type of specific role specialization in those families. So one shortcoming that we can see in the explanation of gender roles according to this perspective is that it does not talk about how these roles and how these relationships take place within an egalitarian family. Otherwise, it is a very good explanation of the society and the social institutions.